management committee in a long distance organization and make this conference remarkably a happy occasion for all of us. Thank you. And it's been a great privilege for me to interact to all of you, our distinguished guests, faculty members, colleagues, and my dear friends from all around the world. Without taking much time, I would directly come to my point. The theme on which I would like to talk about in this particular conference is social and cultural transition in the Jatakas. So before going into the detail of this particular topic, I would like to just focus on what thing I would like to talk about. See, I'm talking about as an historian because I'm a history scholar. So it's been a kind of text which we have dealt with, that is a primary text, a Buddhist text, Jatakas. And what Jatak exactly it's a canonical narrative and normative text which deals with the society at the time of the Buddha and like after that as well. So this theme really influenced me, or it's really provoked me to think in a very different way about the communities and the identities who were hidden, who were earlier hidden and were not to be calculated or not to be described in the Brahmanical literature or the text later on. So my area of study is basically, it's an area of Middle Gangetic Valley, which is Eastern UP, which is presently it is in the Eastern UP and North Bihar, in the region of India. And this region is very much surplus produced, and surplus production was there, and due to that there was a state formation, and the regional identity has been quoted on by many historians of that particular theme and about this particular time period as well. So this theme really provoked me to share my interpretation on early Indian history. So I will directly come to my point in this particular theme, that I have made an attempt in my paper to study the social and cultural changes that has been taking place in the region of Middle Gangetic Valley. And this is the region which I have just explained. This is the dark green area, which you can see on my slide as well. This is the region of Eastern UP and North Bihar, which is called as a Middle Gangetic Valley region, where you will find cultural identities, regional identities. There has been like, it's a place where you can find a state formation has been taken place in the 5th century BC, and the many more things were there that time. And due to that, there was a very regional and cultural identity came into an existence, but that identities were not quoted anywhere in the Brahmanical text. These were the hidden identities. So I, with the help of the Jatak stories, with the help of the Buddhist text Jatak, which is a part of the Khuddaka Nikaya, one of the 10 book of the Khuddaka Nikaya, Buddhist literature, these stories revealing the identities of this particular region of Middle Gangetic Valley. So my paper endeavored to explore the identity of various caste group to bring in the evidence in the light of the Buddhist text, that is a Jataks. And moreover, I also tried to unravel this caste group which had a different identity with some freedom in their social and economic domain, but were not fully detached from the socio-economic structure of the dominant cultural system. So with this particular thing, there are many historians, the study which I have done is basically focused on the various ideological and political ethnographical discourses, which uphold the many theories about the Aryan conquest, and which says that the invading Aryan captured the local tribe and pushed them into the lower strata of the agrarian society, and this led to a kind of place for this particular community to be explored in this region. So, like historian D.D. Kaushambi in his writing Caste and Class, J.H. Hutton, R.S. Sharma, the historiographers is already there. Their writings are already there. Like R.S. Sharma in Origin of a State, D.D. Kaushambi in Caste and Class, R.S. Sharma in Social Changes in Early Medieval India, and Irfan Habib essays in Indian History toward the Marxist perception. J.H. Hutton in his Caste in India, its nature, function, origin. All these historians have echoed on the same point of view, in somehow a different opinion as well, but they have echoed on the same point of view, that how the state formation has been taking place and how this cultural cultural identities came into an existence in the region of the Middle Gangetic Valley. Like R.S. Sharma in his State and One Formation in Middle Ganga Plain, it discusses the process of the transition of from pre-state tribal society to a state subject. Likewise, Andre Bete in his writing From a Varna to Jati describe how the Varna system which was there in the, according to the Brahmanical text which was there, categorized into the 4 Varnas, and how this 4 Varna society became became the part of the state, and they were disintegrated or disseminated or segmented into the various form of the Jatis, which you will find in the region of the Eastern UP and North Bihar still existed. So likewise, I have just dealing and to deal with these things, I have already just now I told you about the kind of text which I dealt with, that is a Buddhist text Jatakas, to generate a different historical narrative and suggest a different rhythm of cultural continuity, transition, and change. And my primary character of the story, which I have already told you, that is a fisherman, because I'm dealing with the cultural identity and the regional identity of the region, who are more or less a fisherman, hunter, poor communities, trading, merchants, and so on. So in this particular text, I have found there was a multiple tribal communities who were by depicting the text, I came to know that there was a different identities. Like there were an identity who were there was an identity of the community who were marginally influenced by the state system in the period of 5th century to 3rd century CE in the region of Middle Gangetic Valley, if I'm talking about. So like in Sam Jatak, Takka Jatak, there were many more stories are there. Like in Vidababa Jatak, Fala Jatak, there was, you will find a multiple identity of robbers and Nishat tribes, and many more tribes were there that time who were marginally influenced by the state, who were not a part of the state as well. And there were many communities who are in regular contact, in contact with the state and economy of that particular time period. Like in Samajatak, there's a fishing community who used to fish their fishing, used to do the fishing, and then they sell their product to the market, to the state, and now they became the part of the state, partially. And after that, there was a, you will also find, like we have also find in many stories and many instances in Jatak, the communities who are remotely connected to the state and their system. And once they become the part of the state, they also come to the and follow the same system and follow the same rules and regulation which was still there in, and which are still there in the state system. So so hence in this process of conclusion, in this process of transition from social and cultural transition from tribe to caste in the Middle Gangetic Valley, we came to know that this process of transition and transformation is really very complex, and it's also somehow overlapping through the system of the state as well. So it shows the various forms of social, economic, and cultural contact and integration between the tribes and caste. You will never get a kind of picture where you will find the tribes were totally detached from the caste community. No, it was not like that in India, if I'm talking about, and specifically in the region of Eastern UP and North Bihar, you won't get such kind of thing. You will find it's a complex scenario where the transition is very overlapping. Somehow the tribal society, when they become the part of the state, they also used to follow the same sorts of culture and the kind of beliefs which was prevailing there that time. And likewise, the state society also follow the same pattern of cultural and the transition, the cultural beliefs somehow, and they were also practicing the same kind of beliefs of the tribal society as well. So hence we can see the linkages between the communities of hunter-gatherers, fishermen, and forest dweller and agriculturalists, and many more peoples were there, are clearly discernible in the various instances in the Jatak story. And some of this collaboration was supported while other ran parallel to the state society as well. So thus from the above observation, by dealing with the text, by dealing with the many instances in Jataks, we came to know, we can say that there were many other castes and jatis that existed other than the 4 Varna order, made clear from the Jatak stories. So their evolution was based on their occupation one should perform, and this occupation is not defined, not clearly defined in anywhere in the any text in Jataks, or there were in the Brahmanical text as well. So there is no any clear-cut demarcation between both this kind of occupation which they have adapted for. So also there were no fixed rules and regulation imposed and followed by any of the community, even though there was a pattern of social behavior we can notice through this particular text. and some of them are still free from the social custom of high culture tradition. It never happened like if one culture, if one society or if one community practice something adopted from the other society and the cultural in context, they will follow the same in a very restricted way. They're always free to choose whatever they want to choose, and the customs were not so much bounded to them through the rules and regulation. There was no fixed rules and regulation, which I have just said about these things. So some of them are still free from all the social custom of higher culture traditions, while those who became the part of the state incorporated the law imposed on them by king and the priest, and that was also you will find in the instances through the Jataka story as well. So this went on to create a line of division among the later groups, which is called as the caste groups. And the casualty can be understood to some extent from the Jatak literature that acts as a window into a new and complex society in the region of the Middle Gangetic Valley that eventually adopted the caste relationship. So hence we can say the process of transition, which I have just chosen for my present presentation as well in this particular conference, is that it's really a undefined, or it's really a communities who were not noticed, or it was hidden there in the Brahmanical text. And in the Jataka story you will find a multiple identities, multiple tribal groups and the caste groups who you can come across with in many stories which are there in the Jatak. And then you will find how the transition from the tribal to the caste society, or how the transition from tribe to caste came into an existence, and who were the tribe exactly, and how this caste system was incorporated with the tribal society. And thus we can assume that there was a multiple tribal communities which is noticed through the various instances in the region of Eastern UP and North Bihar. So hence we can say that the process of transition was really very complex, and it's an open-ended, and it is also an overlapping because there was no set physical boundaries. The culture was traditionally and culturally motivated and transit as well in the region of Middle Gangetic Valley when dealing with the text like Buddhist stories, which is 547 in number. And in these stories we can came across a many hidden identity which I have just explored on. So that's all. Thank you.